The sorcerer turns its wand into a shield, which for some reason inspires Nitron to throw its shield... Hello there, heroes! I'm the Orange Ranger, and welcome to another Tattooed Teenage Alien Fighters from Beverly Hills episode review. So, I don't really have any information on the schedule of how this show aired, just that it aired from October of 1994 to December of 1995. The title of this episode was leading me to believe that it might have been a Halloween episode, but one, it really wasn't, spoilers, and two, the timing of it didn't add up, and that's whether you were looking at the DVD's listing, which had it 15th, or the list on Wikipedia, which has it 12th. Anyway, let's see if this episode is a dream come true, or matches its title, by taking a look at the 15th episode of TTAF, A Nightmare on Rodeo Drive. The episode teaser confirms that we are indeed getting the Sorcerer again. It's interesting to think that the show would give us the same monster 2 episodes in a row, though I would not put it past them. I should note, however, like I was just mentioning a moment ago, that while the DVD has mind games and then this episode, the Wikipedia list actually has the brain drain right before this episode, and that one featured Neuragula. On that giant red hunk of rock called Molecula, Gorganis and Lechner are having a good laugh. Lechner would like to know what they're laughing about, and Gorganis says it is the end of the Galactic Sentinels. He has indeed chosen the Sorcerer, but the plan stays secret for now, encoded, I guess, into the Sorcerer as he's resized from action figure to human size? At the cafe, Gordon gets a water from Drew and just has to tell her his big news. She's not really in the mood for his BS, going over some poetry for a reading that night. He ensures that she will want to hear his big news by being an absolute dick to her about her poetry, basically saying that it has no career future. Long story short, Gordon got a recruitment letter from Princeton. Cute line though, perfect Drew snark. When Gordon goes on and on about his path in life, Drew responds with, "Then rule the world? Sorry, job's taken. That's Gorganis' gig." Then Swinton walks in, having some good news of his own to share. It's some kind of math thing that he rattles on and on about, and the others are totally clueless on. Then Laurie walks up because it's her birthday. The other seniors on the cheer squad are taking her out to dinner for her birthday, and you might notice she said the other seniors, and it's her birthday, so we're establishing in the episode that she is 18 years old. You may not think that's a big deal, but trust me, it's gonna be! Swinton comments on what a good day everyone seems to be having. Drew is nervous about a poetry reading. I don't think she's having that good of a day. And asks what could possibly go wrong. Don't say that! I love that before Drew can even finish knocking on wood, their tattoos splash. The portal appears right in the middle of the room. Nice aim, Nimbar. Meaning everyone should at least be able to see it. So they needed a distraction. Drew tells Gordon to shake the table behind him, and then she screams, "Earthquake!" making everybody run away. Just one of the many advantages of living in Southern California. This feels akin to shouting fire in a crowded theater, but I have to admit, it was funny.
You magnificent bastard, I read your book!
The Sentinels get to the cave and have kind of a weird scene. First of all, Nimbar specifically establishes that the Sorcerer is not a magician. He uses science that's so advanced that more primitive species could consider it to be magic. Makes me kind of wonder if there was some kind of concern about like Christian parental groups and magic on television. But as we're going to see, I really don't think the writers of this show were too concerned about what people thought of them. Anyway, the monster is just wreaking havoc in the city with no real plan, which is par for the course as far as the footage is concerned, but in this particular case, apparently it's something to worry about. Nimbar says Gorganis doesn't just send monsters without a plan. Not really true. Swinton says the monster may have gone rogue, and Nimbar admits that that's possible. Except, no, it's not. Not unless the sorcerer took over Gorganis' station and the ability to send monsters and stuff. And Nimbar must immediately recognize that, because when Laurie says that a monster without a plan should be easy to defeat, Nimbar says that Gorganis always has a plan, and this feels like a trap.
Get your story straight.
I do tend to comment on this from time to time, so I will say that matching the good day the Sentinels are having, very high energy transformation call. So if these two episodes did air consecutively, it's really unfortunate, because watching them that way, it is painfully clear that they reused some footage from the earlier episode. The shots of the Sentinels firing their weapons, for example. There's some new footage, but definitely not all of it. Here's some more weirdness, this time in the battle strategy. After the sorcerer sends out some wavy magic that the Sentinels don't think did anything, Scorpio says that they should form Nitron. Taurus disagrees, saying that he can end this if he just gets one good shot at that wand. Apollo agrees with Scorpio, but she backs down to end the argument, telling Taurus to go ahead and take his shot, and if it doesn't work, they'll form Nitron. He takes the shot, it doesn't work, so Scorpio has the Sentinels retreat.
Excuse me, what?
Did you forget what you said, Scorpio? Anyway, the Sentinels head back to the cave, and Nimbar says that the Sentinels have been defeated. Gordon says that's putting it a bit strong, but Nimbar takes it one stronger. This is the first time the Sentinels have ever been defeated.
Wrong, 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 wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong.
If you count running away from the battle as a defeat, this team does that all the time. Besides, they barely got hit. Swinton got knocked down once. Hardly a defeat. Anyway, you start to get the sense of what's really going on here as Nimbar just lays it on. Clearly, he chose the wrong people to be the Galactic Sentinels, deactivating their tattoos. So again, apparently for the second straight week, the Sentinels are no longer the Sentinels.
Hey, those feelings that I have, they're not even real. Don't worry about them.
At the school, Gordon and Swinton discuss the situation, both pretty bummed about it. And it turns out that their bad days are just getting worse. Swinton has gotten his first F in school, and then Laurie walks up and says that the cheerleaders canceled her birthday dinner, not wanting to be seen with her in public. But at the same time, things start getting surreal. A student rides a bike down the hallway. A little weird, but hey, maybe some dude's just being an idiot. Then a student walks by with an invisible dog on a leash. But hey, maybe like Swinton says, it's stupid stunt day or something. Anyway, back to the Sentinels. There's a really nice team bonding moment here as Swinton offers to take Laurie to the cafe to get her mind off of things, even putting a nice arm around her shoulder. And it only proceeds to get weirder from there. Drew's actually pretty excited since she's leading off the second half of the poetry reading, which was supposed to take place at night, but it's clearly during the day. But anyway, there's a good crowd and she's got a great poem ready to go. But as she starts reading it, the crowd immediately begins booing and rushes her off of the stage. Then Gordon's mom, remember, the mayor, comes in and says that the Princeton recruiter called and said that his letter was a clerical error and they don't even want to talk to him. It's, community college for him, because clearly a Princeton reject could never get into a school like UCLA. She asks how he could possibly let them down like this. He's a Galactic Sentinel, for goodness sake. Yeah, that's a pretty big hint as to what's going on, but nobody comments on it. They just kind of roll with it. They're just kind of going along with what's happening, even though it doesn't make sense when you think about it. They hear a siren again. They heard a siren earlier at the school. I didn't mention it because I thought it was just part of the surreality. Drew tells them that the news is reporting, just like the previous episode,
that aliens and monsters were attacking his place.
Swinton says he wishes they could just get to the command center to be able to transform and fight the monsters.
Excuse me, did you just say?
That's right, heroes, the command center. His exact words. They've never called the cave the command center before. I wonder why they're doing it now. Really doesn't make sense if you think about it. A portal opens for them, the team thinking that Nimbar has changed his mind about them, but it's much, much worse than that. When they arrive, the cave is wrecked, and Nimbar is dead, a charred husk of a blob.
Angus Bunger, you're 6 feet under.
As you might imagine, the Sentinels are pretty ticked off at this and go to transform and get some revenge on Gorganis. No music plays during the transformation sequence, and when Swinton screams out, "Apollo! Apollo!" the name just echoes through the empty cave. The transo discs are not working. Making things worse, Nimbar's dead, so there's nobody to open a portal to let them get back to Earth. They are trapped in the cave. Of course, that raises the question of who opened the portal to get them there in the first place, but by now you may be picking up on the fact that the logic breaks may just be intentional. The screen works for some reason, and they see the sorcerer attacking in the city. They hear the sirens again, but Swinton puts together that they shouldn't be able to hear the sirens, at least not that clearly through the screen, I guess. Then it all clicks for him. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't have to make sense, because this is all a dream. Who's old enough to get that reference? Anyway, the wavy spell that the Sentinels thought did nothing actually put them to sleep, and they've been dreaming ever since. Everything since that happened has been a dream. They talk weirdly about how dream time operates differently from normal time, like that's an actual translatable concept versus just how dreams work.
That's not how it works.
Drew notes, for example, how Gordon's mom said that he's a Sentinel when she shouldn't know that. Swinton has a test. Since in a dream anything can happen, he asked Gordon to imagine something and then see if it happens. And we have reached the moment that this episode is infamous for. I am going to include the screen cap since I think it's okay. Kind of PG, maybe PG-13? But I mean, if you are watching me on YouTube, you are at least 13 years old. Right, YouTube?
I wonder what Pokemon it is.
Gordon gets an image in his mind, turns to Laurie, and her clothes disappear. She stands there in what I want to try and say is a bathing suit, but really is just her underwear. She covers up at first, but then stands straight up, letting Gordon and the audience take it all in while asking, "Really?" before her clothes come back.
I love cheesecake at nighttime, real late at night.
And just to touch back on this is why it was really important for the writers in this episode to establish that Laurie is 18 years old. This gets pretty dumb from here. Drew asks if they can just imagine anything and make it happen, but Swinton says no. Dreams exist to relieve anxieties by allowing things we fear to happen.
Okay, I guess that makes sense.
One, I think that description more describes nightmares specifically than dreams overall. And two, are they saying that Gordon was anxious about seeing Laurie in her underwear? Anyway, Swinton says they have to try not to think of anything dangerous. Laurie immediately imagines an elephant because maybe she's a Democrat or something, I don't know, and they hear one approaching. Swinton says they have to wake up right now.
Wake up! Wake up! Run, rush, and put a little makeup!
How? By opening their eyes. Gordon points out that their eyes are already open, but he says no, the four of them have to agree to really open their eyes. So they do.
Excuse me, did you just say?
Yeah, the four of them just decide to wake up, Apollo grabbing the sorcerer and flipping it. They have a nice fight set to a brand new song for this show, kind of a folk rock theme, which I was actually kind of digging. The sorcerer prepares another sleep spell, so Scorpio calls for them all to form Nitron, and this time Taurus keeps his mouth shut. The sorcerer turns its wand into a sword, which for some reason inspires Nitron to throw its shield down and have a one-on-one sword fight. They clash briefly, and then the sorcerer throws its sword at Nitron, which catches it. Thank goodness for metal gloves, am I right? Is this a chance for Nitron to dual-wield swords? Nah, it just tosses the thing aside and zaps the sorcerer into retreat. Short but kinda funny villain wrap-up. Lechner says he still doesn't understand exactly how that plan was supposed to work out, and Gorganis zaps him.
That was a great scene.
Back in the cave, despite now knowing that they were in a dream, the Sentinels are all surprised to see Nimbar alive and to learn that he's not mad at them. Nimbar didn't see any of the dream, of course, so he figures maybe they were right. There was no plan. But they say they'll stick around and fill him in. Back at the cafe, Drew finishes her poetry reading to the snapping approval of all, and it's a good day for everyone, as it turns out. Laurie's cheerleader friends did indeed take her out to dinner and showered her with birthday gifts, and Swinton's math project got him an A+. Gordon's college interview is back on, set for the next day, and the others poke him about this a little, saying if he thinks that's going to go well, he's the one that's dreaming. Speaking of which, this one wore me out. I'm going to just hang on just a second here. I'm just going to read the signs or some. Read the signs. Episode 15, A Nightmare on Rodeo Drive. Pros, an absolute sense of absurdity that fits the show's overall theme, dark imagery in the nightmare, and lamp shading the plan. Cons, a weird sense of echoing, confusing dialogue, and the sorcerer's inaction. I knew about this episode because of the Laurie cheesecake shot, but I couldn't have imagined what madness it would entail. A Nightmare on Rodeo Drive gets 3.75 signs out of 5.
Put something surreal here.
There's a refreshing sense of freedom in writing the surreal. Things don't have to make sense, you can just have fun and use your imagination. To be honest, they didn't do a lot with this in terms of out-and-out surreality, but there were some subtle notes. For example, the chance to directly reference Power Rangers by calling the cave the command center. Twice! And of course, we have the scene of Nimbar's cave wrecked. Flawless segue! The scene of the Sentinels wandering the wrecked cave gave a great sense of if Gorganis had won, to paraphrase an RPM episode title. I especially love the touch of them changing Nimbar's model. A dead, dark, as if burned, and most importantly, still blob. I can't convey this in still screen caps, but Nimbar's living model has a wavy, superimposed haze on it, so not seeing that is pretty wild. And I've commented several times on whether Gorganis had a good plan, a bad plan, or no plan. Was this feedback that the writers were getting at the time? Today, whether he had a plan or not was something that was kind of strongly commented on. He didn't seem to have a plan, Nimbar even commenting on that at the end of the episode. But he did have a plan, except that Lechner wasn't sure that he had a plan, so I have to say before getting to this con that since the episode order is at best unclear, it's hard to say if this actually happened when the show aired. So count this as a con against the DVD at the very least, but getting Mind Games and this episode back to back leads to a weird sense of echoing. Same monster, same plan to mess with somebody's mind, same the team getting disbanded and having to deal with that. Heck, written right, it could have been a loose two-parter. But done this way, it just felt even less creative. And this isn't even to mention the literal reused footage. Power Rangers reused footage from a different show, not its own. There's some real confusing dialogue in this one. The conversation about the sorcerer possibly going rogue versus Gorganis not having a plan kind of goes back and forth and contradicts itself. And there's also Laurie calling for Nitron, deferring to Taurus wanting to take a shot, and then going back on what she said and retreating. I almost feel like by this point they were cranking out these episodes just as fast as they possibly could, and script editing wasn't really a thing. And here's a minor point which I didn't even really mention during the plot recap. The sorcerer puts the Sentinels to sleep and they go through a crazy dream. Sure, they establish that dreams move faster than reality does, but some time has passed. I've seen it debated when in sleep dreams actually take place. I've seen the last 5 seconds, I've seen the last couple of minutes, etc., but some time passes. Why didn't the sorcerer do anything? We come back when the Sentinels wake up and his hand is just hovering creepily over Scorpio's face, like he was touching her sleeping face, and ooh, I just creeped myself out. Never mind, moving on. Why are their suits all different? Oh, sorry, heroes. I must have dozed off there for a second. Jeez, I've got to read these signs. Wait, how much footage is recorded? Oof, I guess I don't have time for it this week. I've just got to skip to the general summary. And that's to say, this episode was a wild ride. This, to me, is the quintessential episode of this show. This is the one that you should show your friends to demonstrate exactly what this show was like. Weird, cheesy, schlocky, cheesecake, but with a strange sort of charm to it that somehow makes it endearing. I couldn't help but have a wild, fun ride with this one. So there's another interesting moment in this show's history coming up next week. I'll talk about it more then, of course, but for now, I'll have Totally Not 90s Kid preview it for you as we take a peek at the 16th episode of Tattooed Teenage Alien Fighters from Beverly Hills, The Universal Hitchhiker. Dude! Drew learns a lesson in believing in others when she redeems a fallen sentinel named Orion. Also, based on some other details in the summary, I think we might be getting a brand new monster next week. Anyway, that's going to do it for another Tattooed Teenage Alien Fighters from Beverly Hills episode review. Thank you, heroes, so much as always for watching. Comment down below letting me know what you thought of this episode as well as my review of it. Make sure to like the video by hitting that thumbs up button while you're down there. Subscribe to the channel to see all my videos, get your notifications set up, and consider supporting the channel financially on Patreon and Ko-fi. Until next time, heroes, may the power portals protect you. Nimbar says this is the... And then Laurie walks up saying that the cheerleaders... No, it just tosses the thing aside. Laurie's cheerleader friends... Dude! Drew learns a lesson in believing in others when she learns to talk.